back, everyone, to Pod of Thrones. I'm Jeff.
I'm Jennifer.
We're about to talk about Lovecraft Country, Episode 3, which we've already watched twice.
Lovecraft Country.
But before we do, I mean, I hate to go dark after that song introduction of yours, but we've been talking on some of our past episodes, and not everyone all the time, but we had talked about some of the police murders that have happened recently. And there was one that happened just a couple days ago, as of this recording, in Los Angeles, close to our home. That, I think it makes me even more angry than, some of the other ones that happened recently. There was the one in Wisconsin, and that's my old stomping grounds and all that. But this one just seems so flagrant. And his name, what a name, Dijon Kizzee. Assuming I'm pronouncing that right, but Dijon, that looks like Dijon to me, which is just a fun name. But this guy was just shot to death. Did you hear about this?
No.
A couple days ago in Los Angeles, he was apparently pulled over for moving violations on his bicycle.
Was he like swerving on the freeway?
I don't know. No one said yet. It wasn't on the freeway.
He going over 5 miles an hour?
He was on a neighborhood street. Is it illegal to go over 5 miles an hour?
No.
I mean, bicycles have to generally follow the same rules of the road as a car.
Right.
But when have you ever seen anyone...
I've seen idiots riding bikes.
Do all sorts
that
of
I wish
shit.
would get pulled over and, So I have.
So I see people do stuff they're not supposed to do on a bicycle all the time, but I've never seen anyone get stopped for it. And sometimes there's cops around. They don't care because it's a bicycle. I mean, the guy could die, but he's not gonna... was
he causing danger? Was he endangering others?
It doesn't say. It just says moving violations on a bicycle. And then there was a heated confrontation with the police officers. He ran, and now he's dead. Again. And it just fucking sucks. I
wish I knew the circumstances more.
I mean, I kind of do too, but...
But you never need to shoot anybody in the back. Now, here. Mm-hmm. Say somebody's a perp is running away from you. Mm-hmm. You're a cop. He's run too far for you to tase him. What do you do? And you can't run as fast as this guy. This guy's clearly faster than you because you've been eating donuts.
Yeah, that's definitely the case.
But he's a bad guy. Let's say he's a real bad guy.
So not Dijon, like an actual
I don't know
bad
anything
guy.
About Dijon. I'm not going to judge him.
Someone who did something worse than riding a bicycle.
He had a knife and he's like, I'm going to fucking stab you, pig.
And then he runs.
Or you saw him stab somebody just a couple minutes ago. What do? Shoot him or not shoot him?
If he just stabs someone in broad daylight, maybe you need to stop him before he runs and stabs someone else.
What if somebody just reported it?
Reported like there was a stabbing? Somebody's
trying to stab me.
Well,
somebody just tried to rape me.
That's what happened. Remember the crazy lady in the park?
Yep.
The dog walking lady?
Yes,
she called saying that the man was threatening her.
I know. So what do you do?
Well, that's the problem. You can't just shoot.
I know, but what do you do?
You should only be shooting if you actually see a violent act in progress.
They run away. What do you do?
Well, you better get in shape and chase
them.
Lasso? It's funny because we see on TV shows, like cop shows are taking a lot of heat for portraying the cops, let's say, too positively.
Portraying as the cops as they should be, protecting.
Right. I mean... Right, yeah.
Protecting
Brooklyn
life.
Nine-Nine. We watch that as a family. We watch The Rookie, you and I.
9-9.
Because we love Nathan Fillion so much.
Uh-huh.
Some of us more than others. He's your Journey Smollett. I know. But on those shows, first of all, they will give chase, and they'll one person will go one way, they'll go another way. They'll cut him off, and he'll run into the car, and then he'll be down on the ground, and then they can handcuff him. Whatever. And it's very noble, and they almost never make the wrong decisions, and they certainly have never shot an unarmed, guy on a bicycle, right?
Right.
Because they're doing things the way it's supposed to be done, and that's...
Okay, but what do you do?
I don't know what you do, man.
What do you do if you can't catch him and you know he's a bad guy and you got to catch him?
Okay, well...
You phone in some guy down the road?
How about this? All officers should have body cameras for many different reasons, and one of them can be so you have footage of that guy, so then you can figure out who he is, and then you can find out where he lives, and then you can go arrest him. Get a detective involved.
Okay, but say you already know who he is.
If he runs away, give chase, but if he's faster than you, don't shoot him with a bullet.
Say he's already, like, bad. He's done these things. He's, like, one of the America's Most Wanted or whatever.
If you shoot him dead, then he doesn't get his trial.
Well, how do you catch him? That's what I'm saying. He's running. You can't catch him. What do you do?
Be smarter.
Oh my God, those are not things. Those are not things to do. Be smarter.
Before you confront him because you know who he is, he's one of America's Most Wanted, you call in and have other people in the surrounding areas so you can canvass the place. But you don't know that. Can cut him off.
You're just stopping him because he looks suspicious. And then you're like, oh my God, this is that dude. I'm just saying, look, that's the big problem right now is, okay, we don't shoot as they're walking away or running or whatever. And there are bad instances where you can clearly see that it shouldn't be done. But what should you do? Should this become an instance where the bad guy is walking or running away, not walking, but running away, bike riding away, and you know he's going to get away? Or you fear he's going to get away or whatever. I don't know. That's the big, that's what everybody's saying.
But you're putting scenarios in place that are way different than this guy.
I don't know the scenario.
If I get pulled over for speeding, and here's one of the problems is that we live in a culture where black people are afraid that if they are involved in any kind of confrontation with police officers, they'll get shot dead.
Yeah, I know.
What about the fight or flight instinct? I mean, there are psychological reasons why you might not be able to help yourself from sprinting away from the scene. Do you deserve to die for that?
I agree. No, of course not. But that's what everybody's saying.
I mean, look, I understand what you're saying in terms of someone who's legitimately dangerous, and I don't have all the answers to that right now.
This guy might have been legitimately dangerous,
but they didn't pull him over for being dangerous. They pulled him over for riding a bicycle.
You know that you cannot trust anything anymore that the media says.
I don't think we can trust what the cops say either.
You know that they're trying to find. I'm not saying that this is what has happened in this case, because really, I honestly have no idea. But you know that the media, oh my God, stop interrupting me.
I saw them shoot.
You know that media people are out looking for instances that they can sensationalize. And that's all I'm saying. I don't know that this happened. And I know that it does happen, but we all need to be aware of that also. That media is trying to sensationalize everything.
I can give you that is sometimes a possibility. In this particular case, like what I saw started with tweets from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department themselves. And then there are websites, not like conventional news sites, that were posting, footage from that neighborhood that people had taken of this guy running and then being shot in the back. So, yeah. I mean, there are other cases that are less clear. I mean, even the Jacob Blake one maybe is less clear a little bit. Was he reaching for a knife? I don't know. But he was shot and paralyzed, 7 times in the back with his kids in the car.
Right.
And between those two things, those two things together just remind me of Philando Castile, which there was never justice for. That guy was pulled over for like a broken taillight. And when they said license and registration, he said, I've got that in my glove box, but I got to tell you, I have a gun in there too. I'm a registered firearm owner. I have a permit for concealed carry.
Right. He can't open the glove box
and then they
not
shot
tell
him
that.
with his fiance and a kid in the backseat.
It's horrible.
Yeah. And like, that wasn't even a white cop. I think it was Latino. Like, it's just a problem.
It is a problem. And it's not, it's a problem that they're not, it's a human problem because people do not have control over themselves in instances of danger, or these people that are aggressive, they don't have control over themselves. They cannot control when they pull that trigger. So they would have to have their guns taken away to be safe.
The police?
Yeah.
Okay.
If
there are places where the police don't carry firearms.
Okay, but I don't know. I mean, that's a whole discussion that we're not ready to talk about. We're supposed to be talking about.
That's right. We're going to talk about Lovecraft Country. But I just want to say,
Mary and Holsaphat.
I feel for Dijon Kizzee's family.
And his,
that fucking sucks.
It does.
I just wanted to say his name. Black Lives Matter, people. All right. Let's talk about sort of fun stuff. Fucking dark shit, but fun in its own special way.
Mm-hmm.
Lovecraft Country, Season 1, Episode 3, Holy Ghost.
Holy Ghost.
Yeah, I mean, is that religious or is that like, Holy Ghost, Batman?
Yes.
Fuck. All right, so, opening scene, Letty's at church, thinking about something someone said to her once about making her mark on the world. Okay. I didn't get a whole lot out of that. I mean, it was sort of an emotional scene.
I was wondering whose voice that was, or maybe she was just imagining somebody's voice. Or maybe it was God talking to her.
Maybe. I at first I would have figured it was George's funeral, but I don't think it was. I think it was just
it George?
Rousing Sunday service. I don't think so. But anyway, so she's inspired to do something with herself. But then we get this big placard that I had to write down the words of. In the summer of 1955, a group of Negro men and women moved into a house on the north side of Chicago. 10 days later, 3 people went missing inside the house, never to be seen again. Pioneering is dangerous. So this appears to be the foreshadowing of the entire episode, but it doesn't say who those 3 people are. So that's kind of funny by the time we're done. But it does give us a date, 1955.
So is this them, or is this the people that lived there before them?
Well, no, I think it's them. I thought about that because the people that lived there before were actually that one doctor guy and then kidnapped people. So I think this is Letty's story.
Gotcha.
Right? Because 3 people do go missing.
Okay.
But 1955, it's good to have a date. Now,
finally, yeah.
I did a little bit of looking up for other reasons, and the book says, at least at the start of the book, that we're Chicago 1954. That's where the book setting is. But some time has passed already anyway. We know that.
A year.
Well, at least a month.
Well, yeah.
Since George's funeral. So maybe, I guess it's 1955 now. But that date's going to become important when we get a little history lesson. I got some research on this episode, babe. You're going to love it. All right. So.
I cannot wait.
Placard, day 1. Letty bought a house. Ruby, super confused about it all. Where'd she get the money?
Everybody's super confused.
It's a 13-room house.
That's
a lot. How many rooms do we have? I don't know. But we have a lot of kids. We have a sizable house. I feel like this house dwarfs ours. It has an elevator.
Not our house, but
our house does not. Yeah, our house does not have an elevator. Some days that would be nice. We talked about getting one of those things up the stairs.
Chair lift.
The chair lift from Gremlins. So she's going to make a boarding house out of it, which is a great idea for a big mortgage like that.
Totally, yes. And it goes right along with their family, safe haven for colored people.
Mm-hmm. Ruby, she wants Ruby to come help her set this house up and run it. Ruby wants to get a job at Marshall Fields.
What is that?
Which takes me back. Yeah, I thought so.
Is it
I grew up in the Midwest.
Is it like the drugstore?
Marshall Fields, I don't even think it's in business
store?
Anymore. It was a big department store.
Okay.
Like a Macy's or a
Sears and Roebuck.
I think it was sort of a higher end store. I know my mom used to like going there.
Really?
If that tells you anything. Yeah. When Marshall Fields, when malls in the Milwaukee area still existed.
Well, she would have.
There was one that my mom used to like going to. Right. So Marshall Fields, I think she might have mentioned that in episode 1 too. Like she was trying to get a job at Marshall Fields, but I wrote it down this time. Anyway, so they go inside the house. It's impressive, if not a little dirty, but the house has this elevator, and immediately it tries to kill Letty. That damn elevator.
Right.
Tries to take her head off, but it didn't. Ha-ha! Foreshadowing. Okay. Let's zip on over, still on day 1, over to Hippolyta's house. So Tick is there. Atticus is there. He's hanging out with Diana, or Dee. They're making breakfast. And Hippolyta's in the bedroom. And she takes out a copy of Dracula, the novel, and then starts ripping pages out of it. No context for that.
Just craziness. I mean, I feel like that sometimes. I felt like that today.
Just tearing pages out of a book?
Or something like, yes, something just...
You wanted to destroy something.
It's not even that. It's just something overcomes you.
Do you want to talk about it?
Not right now.
Okay. All right, so Tick's trying to help out. He's talking about how the printer called for new additions to the travel guidebook, George's project and seemingly source of income, and it's already a month overdue, so we get an idea of how much time has passed. But Tick has taken care of that stuff. Dee seems a little put out by that, or not Dee. Hippolyta seems a little put out by him stepping in, and he announces that he's got some things to take care of. So so he's gonna.
Well, he feels it. He feels the coldness.
Yeah, but Dee doesn't seem to. She's really sad that Tick's not going to be staying there.
Of course, imagine being around with just Hippolyta.
She's probably a good mom.
Oh, of course she is, but she's totally depressed right now.
That's true. But I mean, isn't Dee also depressed? But she handles it differently.
She had Tick to, they
bonded.
Right.
They're all nerds. Hippolyta's maybe the only non-nerd.
Yeah. Well,
except for her name. It's a very nerdy name.
Yeah.
Right out of Greek mythology. Okay, so Tick leaves and he goes to see Montrose, his dad. They focus again on the Count of Monte Cristo novel, which I thought we kind of got that out of the way since it's a novel about a prison break. But maybe there's more to it. I don't know.
Must be.
And Montrose seems to be drunk, talking in his sleep, blah, blah, blah. Tick says he was
telling a story that George always told.
Right.
It's kind of interesting.
A childhood story of theirs where they were surrounded by white folks and some guy came in and started smacking heads with a baseball bat and then vanished. Which I don't know if you're supposed to get a supernatural feeling out of that or not. But they had a hero or a guardian angel even.
Okay.
When they were kids.
I'm not going to flash forward to what happens later, but.
All right.
Kind of coincidental.
Are you talking about the baseball player?
No, I'm talking about Leti smashing in all the windows with a baseball bat.
I know. That was awesome. I love her. Okay, so anyway, he says he's worn out his welcome with Hippolyta, wants to stay there for a few nights. Montrose doesn't seem that excited by it, but whatever. But we do learn in this scene that the official story on George's death is that a hot-headed sheriff shot him.
Yeah. Believable.
Right.
Evidence. There's a hole in the back of the Woody.
Right.
Everything points to sheriff.
Well, and that one sheriff whose name I can't remember now, Ephraim.
And he's now missing.
He's
or dead.
He's been eaten or he's missing. Yeah. And I think Tick doesn't feel great about using that official story, but Montrose is like, or what? Tell people that wizards exist? Which I would love to do that personally, but whatever. Yeah.
There was an interesting comment from Tick in that conversation. He said, or maybe it was Montrose, that they have that power too. He said, and tell everybody that white people have that power too. At first I was thinking, was he saying too as in we have like magical power? Because they do.
Oh.
But then I think he meant just as well as being white.
Well, yeah, if Atticus has any magical power, you probably would not want white people to know that he's potentially a wizard.
Right, no, but
that would be bad for Atticus.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good point. You don't want,
But that's not what I meant. Carry on, though.
Oh, I'm sorry. Atticus thinks that they should investigate further. Montrose disagrees. And I think this is all coming to a head next episode, but there we go. All right, day 2. Moving into the house. There's a locked door upstairs that no one can seem to get into.
That's right. Just pick it.
Right. And it's totally just a little background. You hear a voice shouting that out. They don't show it or anything, but obviously that's going to come back. Leti's running around taking all sorts of pictures of people as they're moving in. That's important. Atticus arrives. Leti seems surprised to see him there. They haven't talked since George's funeral 3 weeks ago. So again, that tells us how much time has passed. But he says he's leaving. He's got to go back to Florida. He was only going to be gone from work for a few days. Ha ha ha. And then shit starts to fall apart in this neighborhood. Loud horn honking. Boy, that would suck.
I just don't understand how their horns are continuing to work, for one.
Yeah, you think it would drain the battery.
Right, but don't they need their cars?
I think they will suffer that having to take a bus to work or something for a few days if it really helps them get their point across. Those white people will suffer for their art or beliefs.
Yeah. Art.
It's kind of... And Ruby makes a reference. She said something like, see, I told you there's going to be another Trumbull Park. So
Trumbull Park.
Let's go to our history books, people.
Yay.
Anyone want a lesson in Black history?
I do.
Okay, the Trumbull Park Homes Race Riots, 1953 to 1954. So that
just
really
before.
works. So I don't know, since I haven't read the book, I don't know if this was referenced in the book as well, or if this was a Jordan Peele edition, or one of the other writers of the show. But very smart, squeezing it in there. Gives us a little lesson in Black history, and it's sad and fascinating. So in Chicago, and Chicago again, like it's the same geographical location. Since 1937, the Chicago Housing Authority had maintained an unstated policy to house only white people at certain housing projects. So Trumbull Park was one of these. And then in July 1953, Trumbull Park housing project was accidentally integrated.
Accidentally?
Mm-hmm, because the Chicago Housing Authority had given a lease to a lady named Betty Howard, who was an exceptionally fair-skinned African-American lady.
Oh.
Not unlike Letitia, I imagine. She's very fair-skinned. Right, so they thought she might be white, and they let her move in. And then people were like, she's not quite white by our standards. So almost right away, within a few days, and continuing nightly for weeks thereafter, crowds of white people directed fireworks, rocks, and racial epithets toward Betty and Donald Howard's apartment. Police responded. Oh, probably her husband wasn't quite as fair-skinned either. I bet that was a shoo-in. Police responded with a show of force, but few arrests. South Deering, Illinois leaders openly pressured Chicago politicians and the CHA to remove the integration. So they were saying, get these black people out of here. But in October, after lengthy debate, the CHA's commissioners reluctantly agreed to move in 10 additional black families, triggering a new round of white violence directed at blacks. A massive police presence prevented full-scale rioting, but chronic racial tension and sporadic violence continued throughout the 1950s. Not until 1963, 10 years later, could African Americans openly use a neighboring public park without police protection. 10 years it took for white people to just accept the fact that they have black people in their goddamn neighborhood. 10 years.
Wow.
And they probably still weren't really accepting. They just weren't rioting anymore. They were calm. They calmed down, those fucking Karens.
Oh, stop it with the Karen. Break that stigma.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to all the Karens, the good Karens out there. But yeah, that's Trumbull Park. And it's happening now. Of course, this is fiction, so they wrote it that way, but still quite a reference.
Okay.
All right, so cops drive by. They're not doing anything. So Tick's like, I guess I'm not going to go back to Florida. Fuck it. All right, boom, day 5. There are people putting up signs declaring the neighborhood whites only. That's a nice thing to see. And then we go over to Letty's bedroom, where there are disembodied hands moving her covers.
Right.
Creepy. And then this mangled ghost. I think it's a lady, right?
Looks like a lady. Looks like an older lady.
The mouth is...
Mm-hmm.
How would you even describe that? It's like maybe like a shotgun blast to the face or something.
I have.
Just blown open.
Maybe cut off.
And it's like elongated.
I don't know.
Oh, super fucked up.
Peeled away.
It seems to be checking her out. But then she wakes up and the ghosts are gone, of course. Like you see in any ghost movie. It takes a while before the ghosts show themselves.
Something pulled her covers off completely, like yanked them off.
Oh, that's right. The hands yanked off the covers and then she woke up. And then the ghosts were gone. Yep.
So are the hands waking her up from the gooey jaw lady, or do the hands belong to the gooey jaw?
I think we see the ghost later. The hands belong to a different lady. There was one lady ghost that we see later that has no arms, or like no hands, forearms. Yeah. Okay, so Letty's awake now, and she's super hot and sweaty. She tries to open the window, but the horns are honking. So yeah, and the boiler is going crazy. So she has to go into the basement to turn down the heat, and it's broken. But she's able to fix it with a big old wrench. Good for her.
Yes, good for her.
She
You're
knew
right.
exactly what to do. And then she hears loud banging noises in the basement.
Of course, there's always noise in the basement.
I did note that they took the time to show us her stepping over a
bear trap,
a disarmed bear trap. I wrote down like Chekhov's gun, like we always see, like we're going to see that bear trap later, but we didn't. But anyway, she finds a trap door. It's banging. It's like half open. It's banging so hard. And then there's voices inside and she freaks out. And Tick comes and helps her check it out. And they find a sub-basement, but it's empty. Cool sub-basement, though.
Clean, too.
And pretty clean. I was thinking that, too. Like, in the basement, there are tons of spider webs. Mm-hmm. Not the sub-basement.
It reminds me of that spiral guy that kills people.
The Jigsaw Killer?
Yeah.
Did he have a basement like that?
I feel like he had a bunch of people chained in a basement like that.
Well, probably. In at least one of the movies. I have not seen many of those movies. There's a lot of Saw movies.
Or maybe it was the human centipede. I don't know.
No, I think Jigsaw is more likely. Based on what I remember. At least I've seen all the human centipede movies. Of course. Who hasn't, right? Okay, so kind of weird, but there's nothing in there now. And now Tick is sort of flipping the tables on her from the last episode. He's basically saying that she has PTSD now. Like, this is all, she's hearing voices from all the stress of everything they've been through. And she cites the heat and the noise, and he says, oh, it's just like what we did to people, or just like what we did in Korea. And she's like, what'd you do in Korea? He doesn't want to talk about it. Yeah.
No, she asked why.
Well, he does, whatever it is, he does not want to talk about what happened in Korea. Yeah. He thinks it would make a good darkroom down there. She touches his hand for a second. He pulls away. You thought maybe he's gay. Mm-hmm.
But why pull away?
I don't know. I mean, look, if she wanted to hold my hand, I'd be fine.
Right. Me too.
That's right. That's how pretty you are, Journey Smoke. Anyway, boom, day 8. Big party time. It's the housewarming party.
She has got a lot of energy.
Yeah.
I'd be so tired after like one round of drinks.
Good for her. They're having a big party. Ruby is singing with her band. I did have to take note because I didn't know a lot about him, but his history. But someone mentioned like this guy is going to he's going to bring the movement forward, and they said, "Oh, this guy Michael," and they said he goes by Martin now. So I just wanted to make sure because I didn't know that Martin Luther King was actually born Michael, but he was. And then one lady says, "I heard he was married to a white woman." And someone else says, no, they made him marry a black woman just the other day or something. Right. But I looked all that up, and sure enough, in his biography, it does say that while he was in college, he became romantically involved with the white daughter of an immigrant German woman who worked as a cook in the cafeteria. The woman had been involved with a professor prior to her relationship with King. Well, that's not a nice thing to say. Anyway, King planned to marry her, but friends advised against it, saying that the interracial marriage would provoke animosity from both blacks and whites, potentially damaging his chances of ever pastoring a church in the South. So he was sad and broke up with her. Part of the Martin Luther King Jr. story. Just another slip these references in there. I gotta look them up. Okay, so Hippolyta's at the party. She brought tons of food, which is sort of irrelevant, I guess. But there's a conversation between her and Letitia about George and Tick and how she's just having a hard time handling Tick being around because something's not right. Mm-hmm. Right.
Of course, she can tell.
She mentions this story with him being shot by a cop, and then they quote unquote took care of the cop in ways that she doesn't want to know anything about. But she just feels like something's not right.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's going to come back again.
Of course.
And then we flash over to Dee, who's in the attic playing with some other kids. They're playing Ouija board, which you should never do in a haunted house.
And
I mean, really.
Neither in an attic or a basement.
Yeah, definitely. Like, if you're going to play Ouija board at a haunted house, do it in the driveway, maybe.
Yeah. Backyard.
Like backyard would be
maybe
okay.
Not the backyard. That's where the
bodies are buried.
Bodies
driveway.
are buried.
I'm going to say driveway.
Yeah, it's concrete.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Nothing's going to reach up and get you. And they ask who they're talking to after it says the Ouija board says something creepy, and it flashes to George is dead.
Right.
Yeah.
Duh.
Weird. I don't know. Something's just messing with him.
Maybe we miss not. George is not dead.
Maybe. Yeah. It did seem like there was a weird editing problem there. Like we weren't seeing all the letters move or something. Yeah. The letters were moving and we didn't see it. I don't know. Maybe it says George is not dead. That's possible. That'd be cool. But whatever it was very upsetting for Dee. Oh, maybe that's it. I think you're right. That's going to be a reveal later, that George is actually not dead.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
And Dee saw
I love
it
George.
say that, and she was upset by it because there's no way that he couldn't be dead because they buried him. They had a funeral.
She saw his body.
Right.
And the shot.
That's a great theory. I love that. And we get more of Hippolyta. She is looking for Dee, but hears ghostly voices and goes over to that door that was previously locked and no one could get in. And the door opens for her. She follows the ghostly voices and finds a golden orrery.
What is an orrery?
I had to look that word up, but it's a model of the solar system, right? It's got all the planets.
Well, just call it that.
The sun. Hey, look, I didn't make it up. That's why I had to find the word. The best I could come up with was actually what you said, which was like a mobile. I'm like, I know that's not right because you hang that over a crib, but it's the best I got. So I had to look it up. It's called an Orrery.
Oh, wow. That's not how I thought it was spelled.
It's a real word. Orrery.
Okay.
And she like reaches for it, and I had to rewind it like 8 times. Her hand like gets distorted in a weird way as she's reaching for it. But now I'm going to stop there.
Interesting.
So
she's sticking her hand into the universe.
So I want to talk about the orrery because what we saw, if you go back and look at it, there's like a platter almost at the bottom of this thing, and it's got a bunch of planets on it in a circular arrangement, right? So concentric circles, a bunch of planets, what you would expect to see. But then above that was this very large sun-like sphere with a couple more things orbiting around that. Did you notice that?
No.
It was like everything else was smooth, just smooth orbs, but this thing was kind of jagged looking.
Well, I thought the thing that was on top was kind of pretty.
Well, yeah, sure. And that's the thing that she reached for too. And I think this is going to turn into something. So I didn't talk about this before. We on the first episode, I think we talked just a very little bit about the Cthulhu mythos. But now I'm going to share something else with you because I think what we were seeing here was a massive Cthulhu reference. Even though it doesn't seem like it. So the Cthulhu monsters seem to exist on Earth, possibly living on the ocean floor. But where did they come from? And the answer, weirdly enough, is another planet. The monsters from the Cthulhu mythos, the Lovecraftian stuff, they actually come from another planet called, and I hate saying this after these last 2 episodes, but the planet is called YUGGOTH. Not to be confused with Shoggoth, the monsters from episodes 1 and 2, but the planet is called YUGGOTH. Now, it has been theorized that YUGGOTH is either Pluto or a planet past Pluto. But based on Lovecraft's writings, there have been a bunch of Lovecraft interpreters that have theorized before that YUGGOTH is an enormous trans-Neptunian world, which apparently means that it has a orbiting arc larger than Neptune or something like that. But specifically that it orbits perpendicular to the rest of the solar system, which is exactly what we would be seeing. We saw a flat plane of the solar system in this orrery, and then this huge other planet-looking thing, a very large one, hovering far above it. So if that planet was orbiting the sun, we might not ever know it because it's far away, and it's also orbiting in a completely different plane than all the other planets are.
Right, so I'm looking at the picture, and it's got all of the regular planets in line, and then like 2 more planets above that, and then like 3 or 4 more planets above that with the big orb in the middle.
Right, so those might be moons orbiting YUGGOTH.
Is what
I'm expecting or assuming at this point.
But they're aliens.
Yeah, they are.
Well, that's not as fun as monsters.
I know it's not as fun. That's why I didn't want to talk about it, because maybe this wasn't going to get into it. But I think we just got into it. Mm-hmm. I think we just had a reference to the planet YUGGOTH.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Shoggoth.
Not Shoggoth.
Well, Shoggoths are from YUGGOTH.
The from YUGGOTH. It doesn't really roll off the tongue so great.
The moms are called Moggoths, and the dads are called Doggoths.
Dagoth might actually... No, wait, that's a Skyrim god. Never mind. Okay. Anyway, so I think we got a really cool piece of lore thrown in there. Mm-hmm. Maybe a nod to Lovecraft fans, or maybe inspiration for some of us to do some research. But whatever it was, I think that's what we saw, was the home planet. So, ta-da, that'll probably come back to haunt us.
I don't think you were supposed to do research. I think we were just supposed to find out naturally in the progression of the show.
Oh, well, fuck that.
You just spoiled it for a lot of people.
No, I'm spoiling it for everybody.
Right.
You're welcome, people.
Spoiler.
Hey, listen, if we are the smartest Lovecraft Country podcast on the internet, that's fine. And you know what, people? Tell your friends. Tell your friends, hey, this is the smartest Lovecraft Country podcast. They're really doing the work. We could use some more subscribers. I'd be all up for that.
Yes, we could.
Can never have too many subscribers. All right. So, we're still on party. We're still on the party night. Tick was outside keeping watch in his military uniform. And he starts getting all jealous watching Leti fucking dirty dance with some dude. While another dude's asking, hey, I kind of want to fuck Leti. Do you mind? That's basically what he said, right?
Right.
And then he backs off because I don't think he wants to make Tick angry. So Leti leaves to powder her nose, and there's another like mangled, nasty ghost in the mirror, of course, and she doesn't notice it.
She's dry. Yeah,
typical.
She's got her eyes closed.
Stuff. It's what you always see in a
Of
horror
course.
movie. Always a ghost.
Jason.
And when she finally turns around, the door's open, and it's Atticus. Yeah. And he rushes in and kisses her, and then they fuck.
No.
It wasn't making love. Don't you call that making love? That was
no. I just don't even think it could be called that. He just shoved it into her like 5 times.
Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am.
That must have been so painful for her.
I thought about that, and then I was thinking, well, she was just dirty dancing. Maybe she was turned on already. So maybe she was ready.
Lubricated.
To go. Maybe she was ready to go.
And it was hot.
And it's hot, sweat and excitement. And Tick's just ready to swoop in, so to speak. But yeah. it didn't look like it was good for her, right?
No. Well,
I mean, maybe for a second or two.
I mean, yeah. Okay, I'm not going to talk about anything else. Let's just move on.
Well, you're a woman. I wanted your perspective.
No,
it wasn't good for her?
No, that was... Okay, so it was probably exciting, and it probably somewhat felt good, but a lot painful. But it was just so animalistic and not, like... Even if she hadn't had that experience with Atticus before, I would have been crying in the bathroom afterwards, too.
Oh, the snake thing? Snake dick?
Well, yeah, or anything else. Everything.
Fair enough.
They've got this bond now, and now it's like crossed a barrier, and it was horrible.
And he came.
And she was a
good for him, I
virgin,
guess.
which we find out later.
Well, yeah, we find out. But then like there's blood, so she says she's on her period, and he's all like, "Hey, it's cool." Which he better fucking say that.
Oh yeah, he's totally nice, but he could have been a little nicer.
And then he leaves. He's just like, "All right, see you later, peace."
She told him to leave.
She starts crying.
Yeah. She said, "See you downstairs," and he's like, "Yeah."
Now, since we reveal in this episode that she was a virgin, was she crying because that was a terrible way to lose your virginity, or because that's not how she wanted her first time with Atticus, or because something else?
All of the above. She's crying because it's a hard life. She's crying because they went through everything that they went through emotionally, and they haven't even talked about it, like we find out also. She had that experience. A lot probably has to do with that experience with the snake dick. That was like rape, and we don't really know what happened. Oh, except for she said it was her first time, so the snake must have not have penetrated her.
Well, she was fighting that snake with a knife.
I know.
By the end.
Maybe she chopped its head off.
Ooh.
So all the above, I think it's emotional for every single reason.
Yeah, I guess. And when it all adds up,
it
sudden,
explodes,
huge
right?
crying. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that makes sense. And then there's a burning cross on the front lawn.
God, can you imagine?
Fucking white people.
Good old Boaz.
So Letty's had enough. She grabs a baseball bat. A bunch of guys grab shotguns, which I kind of love. They're just watching her back.
Yeah.
That was cool. And Leti stops the goddamn horns.
Right, but during all of that, her sister grabs shotguns, puts them in the trunk, drives away.
Well, as soon as she's done, yeah. Ruby knew. I think this is just one of those things, right?
A plan.
When you're black, you know that if something like this happens, get the car ready and get the guns out of there.
But why is she the only one that drove away?
Because no one else needed to. She was getting rid of the guns. That's all Ruby. That was Ruby's job.
Oh, I see.
So they were standing there with the guns.
But they were standing there with the guns.
Right. So they were standing there with the guns until Leti was done smashing shit.
I understand.
And then Ruby's like, honk, honk, give me, and then he opens the trunk. They put the guns in there and she drives away just before the cops roll up.
I did not get that.
And they all get down on their knees. Mm-hmm. I guess they didn't arrest anyone but Leti, which is fine. I mean,
she's the only one that did it.
Didn't do anything, but they were down on their knees anyway because they didn't want to get shot, even though they were unarmed at the time. Okay. So now we meet racist cop guy. I think he had a name, but I don't give a shit. Fuck him. He's in the back of this paddy wagon with Leti. He hasn't received any of Letty's complaints about how her neighbors are harassing her.
What a shame.
Yeah, it's weird. It's really, really weird. And then he asks if anything strange has happened in the new house. He wants to know who helped her buy the Winthrop house. Which,
right.
Of course, thank you, episode 2, for that painting that we got to analyze. Horatio Winthrop was one of the names on the painting. Mm-hmm. So that's a tie-in immediately. Of course it is. And then the van goes on this swerving tear to just kick the shit out of her, bouncing her around in the back. And when that's over, he says that they found the body parts of 8 black people buried in the basement.
Right.
Body parts. Mm-hmm. So that explains the ghosts. Obviously, we get that right away. Mm-hmm. And just, again, I gotta say, man, what a acting job.
Who?
For the cop guy.
Oh my gosh, I know. Have to say that.
I mean, I hear, and I'm 100% sure it's true from my role-playing game days. It's fun to play the villain. It's fun to be a bad guy because you're not really a bad guy. You just get to pretend to be. Mm-hmm. But that's not the kind of bad guy I want to be.
Right. It's never fun to be racist.
And what really sucks is that it kind of takes me out of the show, even though it shouldn't. Like, it's super realistic. And
right.
And the acting is amazing. But every time, like with the cop in episode 1 and then this guy in episode 3, when they do that, I think, oh, that poor actor. Like, oh, I imagine as soon as if it was me and I had to do that, as soon as the director yells cut, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry I had to say that.
Yeah, me too.
I'd be apologizing to Journey Smollett right there, right then and there. Mm-hmm. God. Yeah. So yeah, fuck that guy. All right.
But boom. Great acting.
Yes, but great acting. Boom. Day 9. The sub basement and now a dark room. I can't believe she went in there, honestly, but she needed.
No shit. Who goes in there?
Letty's looking at all of her new pictures. Each picture has these weird, like, bright marks on it, like scratches almost, and she puts them into a puzzle, which blows me away. I don't know, but good for her. She figured it out. It's a puzzle, and it makes a face, and then the face turns. You were laughing
because it's exactly like, I mean, Freddy Krueger. No, Nightmare on Elm Street did it first.
Yeah, something very similar,
and then many others.
But a ghostly, stretchy
giant head.
Face, giant head.
He looked like
my house.
he looked a lot like Snoke
from Star Wars.
Yeah.
Wow, good pull. All right. Yeah, he did. Okay, so now people are moving out of the house. But Leti again doesn't tell anybody what just happened in the basement.
I know. Speak up, woman.
You got a sister. Talk to her. But people are moving out now. Ruby needs her to be like, hey, this sucks. But it's okay. Leti still has some of Mom's money. What? You got money from Mama? Ruby's mad. There was some inheritance money that Leti just sort of suddenly got out of nowhere. But Leti didn't even go to the funeral, so she's a bad daughter. And Ruby thinks that she should have split the money with her and Marvin. So she's mad. She storms off. End of Ruby for this episode, at least. All right. We get Montrose. This is such a little thing, but we got to talk about it. Montrose is at the body shop, George's old shop, and wants to play some baseball with Dee. He helps Hippolyta with some groceries, spills the groceries, finds a copy of Dracula, which we find out was George's favorite book, right?
Right.
Fine. Whatever. They're just talking a little bit. It shouldn't be important until right at the end of that scene, that short scene, when Hippolyta is saying something doesn't feel right with George's death, and there's this weird noise that's part of the soundtrack. Like, the director added that noise, and you see something rush past the window. Mm-hmm. And we watched that about 8 times, too.
It's Flash.
It's definitely Flash.
Oh, or it could be 5.
From
Umbrella Academy.
From Umbrella Academy. He just time traveled in all of a sudden, because they were in the 50s, too.
Yeah.
Another show that was dealing with racism. Boy, it's just everywhere. Great, I say. But yeah, we rewound that over and over again. You really can't see what's happening. But something's happening.
Right.
So they're setting up stuff with Hippolyta that's not going to pay off probably for a while. It doesn't look like it's going to pay off next episode. But they're building up to something with Hippolyta.
Oh, so
what if that was the ghost of George? George isn't dead. I don't know. What were you going to say?
Well, the next scene is about what? What is the next scene about?
Well, now we go back to now it's Leti doing her investigations about Winthrop.
Okay.
So it was just a very short scene with Hippolyta and Montrose.
Right. Well, I'll tell you later when we come to the scene that I was talking about.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Boom. Day 10. Leti is doing her research. A common thing in the Cthulhu universe. You have to investigate the supernatural shit so you can figure out how to beat it. So she's trying to figure out the Winthrop house connection. And she can't find any record of Winthrop, but she says, Tick, my house is haunted. And he sits down and listens, which was nice. She finds out the last owner was Hiram Epstein. And he was fired from the University of Chicago for unethical experiments. Yeah. This reminds me a lot of the first season of American Horror Story.
Yes.
Because there were unethical human experiments going on in that house, too.
Mm-hmm. As well as in the asylum one.
Oh, yeah. That Nazi doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Boy, that took me a second. He was sort of a weird subplot that didn't go anywhere.
It was weird.
Boy, that show has problems. I love it, but it has problems. And there's a connection between the police captain and Hiram Epstein. They definitely knew each other, and they theorize, and they're probably right, that the police captain had been supplying Epstein with his test subjects. So she shows Tick how her pictures from move-in day all had ghost faces on top of the real people's faces. And she figured out who all those people were, and Tick's like, well, we should move out. Then we have the conversation about how Leti was a virgin until that night in the bathroom.
And he feels like a shithead.
He feels like a shithead, but then she goes on about her emotional state since she died.
Right.
Reminds me very much of when Buffy died and came back.
Or Jon Snow.
Oh yeah, Jon Snow. Same thing. He felt kind of hollow inside.
Mm-hmm. Something was missing.
Something was missing, and she feels that too. And she just wanted to feel something. So it was okay that he
rammed it into her.
Just stuffed it like nothing else.
I mean, he has a nice butt. That was fun to watch. I might enjoy it, but she was a little girl. She's a virgin.
She's not a little girl.
She is a little girl. No, I don't mean like young. I just mean she's little. Petite. Petite. Okay. And she is a girl, but also a woman.
She is very petite, but she didn't get to see his nice butt.
She didn't get to see anything.
True. But she resolves herself at that point. Fuck everything else. This is my house. It's going to be my house. I'm going to take this fucking house. So, of course, there's a goat sacrifice involved as we flash forward to that evening. I don't think we got a name of that lady, but we'll just call
Betsy.
her...
No. Sorry.
I think Betsy was the goat.
Right, but...
I'm pretty
Betsy, help me.
Betsy... Oh, no, Betsy was one of the ghosts.
She was one of the ghosts.
Betsy's a good name for a goat.
It is a good name.
They kill the goat. They draw symbols on their foreheads. The spirit lady, I don't know. Spirit Creole lady, I'll just call her.
Right, she's got voodoo.
She's got something, some mojo. She feels a presence in the basement, and so she starts a ritual. The lights are blinking, things start shaking, but meanwhile, 3 white jackasses break into the house.
Yeah.
And I'm watching those guys move around the house, and they're so clean cut, and like, it's just like t-shirts and button downs, but they're but it's like very clean, ironed, immaculate almost, even though it's very casual dress. And you just know that those guys are popular in school. They're popular with, authorities, teachers. Everyone loves them. Their parents are so proud of their shining stars that play football and are going to go to college and make their family proud. But they also just want to bust black people's heads open with baseball bats.
Yeah.
Fuck.
It's okay.
I want to go off on a rant, but I'm not going to.
Don't.
We've been talking.
That was the 50s.
Yeah, right. Anyway, so they're breaking, and meanwhile, all hell's breaking loose in the basement. But we see 2 whiteys. That's all I could write.
Whitey's on the moon.
They find their way into that same room that had the orrery, the locked room.
Interesting.
But there's no orrery there.
No, there is not.
There is, however, a basketball player ghost with a baby head. I know it's supposed to be fucked up, and it is fucked up, but it was also a little bit funny.
It reminds me of the Toy Story baby, Big Baby.
Oh, yeah. Because it was all like reaching for him and like, goo, goo, gah.
Yeah.
And then they get radiated. Like steam comes out and burns them, I guess. But we don't actually know what happened to them. Could the radiator have been hot enough to kill them, or did the ghost do something? I'm not sure.
Good question.
We never really find out.
I mean, but radiator burns aren't going to kill you.
Right. Blind you, maybe. So I think the ghost must have done something. But then the other guy sees the broken elevator and sticks his head in there because that's what people do.
Right.
I will never do that.
I've done it.
Oh, never, don't do it again.
It's interesting to see what's in there.
And he gets elevated badly. His head's gone and there's spurting, gooping. Awesome effects.
It's probably a great way to go.
Fast. Well, like a guillotine. I mean,
yeah, you don't feel anything.
Yeah. And as they're focusing on his squirting, oozing head or neck stump, you can see, if you go back and watch really closely, didn't see it the first time around, there's a ghost in that elevator. You can barely see it.
Barely.
But it's definitely there.
You can't tell which ghost.
I think it's a different ghost. I don't think it's any of the other ones we saw. That's my theory. But
okay.
Otherwise, they'd let us see how mangled it is. Plus, it doesn't go away.
He must be the ghost that ran the elevator.
Yeah, it's just a ghost of an old white butler who really loves killing people. And then things calm down in the basement.
You don't think it was a black... No, I guess it...
It could have been a black butler. That's like a servant, maybe. Oh, that's possible.
Because it killed the white guys, but then I remembered it tried to kill Leti, too.
Leti. So everything's going okay in the basement now. Things have calmed down. Maybe they won. But then a pipe bursts open and sprays water on them, and it washes away their head marks, their protective symbols.
Their goat blood.
Spirit lady gets possessed. Leti, and then the spirit comes into Tick after that. Now the spirit lady's down. Tick is possessed. Leti starts screaming the names of the missing ghost people.
Right.
Betsy and Anarcha. That was an interesting
I like that one, yeah. Anarcha.
We should name our next kid that.
Okay.
That's a good name.
It'll be our dog.
And Tick's coming for her, and he's all like shaking his head.
I like it.
You see the ghost head coming out of his head.
Get out of my fucking house!
Bitch. Don't forget the bitch part.
Bitch.
But the mangled spirits hear Letitia's call and come to help her. And they all join hands in a circle and start chanting the Creole stuff. And then they start to unmangle. They become whole again. They're healed. Healed spirits.
I love it. Yep.
Winthrop is ejected from Atticus, and he eventually turns to dust. I mean, it took a while, but that's basically...
It took him a long time, yeah.
He was a strong spirit, but they beat him. And then the ghosts, I guess, are appeased.
So now this guy, Winthrop owns the house?
Was the original owner, I think. Or at least the most prominent owner.
And then this guy came along from the college.
Well, what we wind up hearing, I think, in the last scene, but it doesn't matter. Hiram was a disciple of Winthrop. Horatio Winthrop. So
understand.
Horatio Winthrop died, but Hiram continued on his work, I guess.
And Horatio's the one that died trying to evoke the Garden of Eden?
No, that was Titus.
Oh, that's
Titus Braithwaite.
Yeah.
But
oh, yeah.
Horatio stole pages.
Horatio stole the pages, the chapters.
Right. Because he wants to do his own magic.
It's still the whole fucking book, you idiot. What is wrong with you?
The book was really heavy.
He thought nobody would notice those chapters were gone.
Maybe. Yeah, that could be. We'll talk more about that in a second. But first, now that the ghosts have been appeased, everything seems okay in the house. The elevator's working and everything. Letitia's talking to a reporter who's doing like a feel-good story about this boarding house, trying to help black people.
Things
find
are
a cheap
looking
place
up.
to live. Yeah, everything's
Everybody's moving in.
The
it
house
looks
is
like
bright.
She's renting to people that can actually pay rent, probably, instead of just a bunch of partiers.
I don't think the first batch was a bunch of partiers.
Well, her sister said they were all her artist friends.
Oh, right. She did say, you're right. Her artist friends. They might not have been able to pay. You're right. Now, off the record, the reporter wants to know, do you know anything about the disappearance of 3 of your white neighbors? And Letty's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't know there were missing people. And
she doesn't.
I'm not sure if she does or not. Yeah,
she doesn't.
The ghost cleaned up, I think, right?
Somebody cleaned up, and I don't think Letitia knows anything about it.
But do you think the ghost had time to mop up all the blood? There was a lot of blood.
I mean, the blood from the body squirting out.
Maybe they just didn't notice it because they were all traumatized.
It was the big baby. He carried them all.
I think it was the elevator ghost. So the elevator starts moving on its own. We don't actually get to see the ghost, but the door closes, the handle pulls, and it starts going down, 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 past the sub-basement, and we see a bunch of like magical runes light up. They look almost like asterisks, but whatever.
I thought they looked similar to the things that were around the doors on Braithwaite.
Well, I think they were supposed to have like a similar effect. I don't think they were the same runes, but the way that they were glowing was definitely
magic.
It's the magic glow of the magic runes. And so there's a secret floor under the house, or a tunnel. Oh, fuck, it's a tunnel. Shit.
Right.
Fucking, I didn't even think it. Okay, we'll come back to that. There's a tunnel full of bodies, including these 3 boys. But most of them are skeletons.
Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I count, yeah. Well, so I was trying to count just to see if there was any number. And there was like 8 or 9 that you could see.
But it kept going.
Right, that you could see.
Yeah, that you could see. Okay, so final bit of this episode. Atticus is staking out JJ the realtor's place.
Right.
And sure enough, silver car pulls up. And Christina Braithwaite is not dead, like we knew. Of course she wasn't dead. She's too cool.
Right. We knew she wasn't dead.
Well, we didn't see her die or not die, but we didn't see her leave the property either, so.
Right.
She had to be alive.
She's the one that has orchestrated the whole thing.
Well, this whole thing.
No, she's the one that orchestrated the whole bringing. Yeah. I told you on the podcast we talked about last time. Yeah.
Her dad?
Right. She's the one that found Atticus and brought him in.
Well, yeah, you're right. She's probably the one that was doing all the, like Samuel was like, well, find these people because they're connected. And she was like, okay, Dad.
No, I don't think so. I think she talked her dad into letting him.
You think so? Huh?
I think so.
That's a big theory. I hope we get to find out.
She says so during the first episode.
She does?
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm going to watch it again. Okay. So he knows that Letty's money came from Christina. Sure enough, I mean, she's talking to the realtor like this was all her plan to get Letitia into the Winthrop house. First, give Letitia money, enough money to buy this really big house, and then JJ, probably the only black realtor in town, was paid off to make sure that Leti falls in love with this house. Probably even filled her head with ideas about like the boarding house and all that. It's probably all planned. But Tick figured it out because of the Winthrop connection, just in case we did not get that during the episode, which of course we did. But Tick is our exposition for that part. He saw the name Winthrop on that painting.
Right.
Tick pulls a gun on her, tries to shoot her in the face because he wants peace and quiet. And he can't. He becomes completely frozen.
Right.
Cool magic.
Yes.
So then we get some more exposition about magic. So Samuel Braithwaite, Dad, his claim to fame was his magic invulnerability spell. And I wonder if that's what we're seeing in action. Is Christina's invulnerability rendering him immobile, or did she do something else?
I think she did something else. I think she's got her own spell, and she probably has more.
She's got some tricks up her sleeve for sure.
Yeah, I think it's a freeze spell.
So we hear about the Book of Names, which is the cipher for the language of Adam. And we hear that every spell that the Order of, was it the Ancient Dawn? Every spell that they've created so far has come from just one chapter that Titus Braithwaite had deciphered. But they couldn't decipher everything because Horatio Winthrop took a bunch of the pages.
Right.
For himself.
So all they could do is like chapter 1.
So the book of Numbers is locked in a booby-trapped vault. And apparently no one dares to figure out Titus's booby traps.
Bear trap? Is it bear trap or is it booby trap?
I hope it's more than just one bear trap because that would not last you long. But if you could find Horatio's stolen pages, then maybe with the other stuff that we know that was handed down through oral tradition from Titus, blah, 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 you could decipher the rest of the book of the rest of the language of Adam.
Right.
And the sky's the limit on magic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And she ends it by saying, call me when you're ready to learn more about our family legacy. He's part of the family. He's a Braithwaite.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really is. And then she also says, like, you should be smarter. Don't shoot white girls in public or whatever. But he didn't. He was not able to shoot her. So good for him. Yeah. So
in the previews, right?
In the previews. And I did not think about this at all, but shit, you're probably right. Well, go ahead.
Well, I don't remember everything that happened, but I do remember that Leti and her sister, I can never remember her name, Ruby, were in the tunnel.
They were in a tunnel. Now, we don't know for sure it's the same tunnel, but
of course
it probably
it is. Right. And there some stuff's happening. I don't know what. People are scared and running.
Letty's trying to find something. William, we see William. William the
right,
the
and we see William.
lad.
I assume they're looking for the book, or
it must be
tomb.
Trying to get the book out of the booby traps, or well, no, I guess Horatio's pages.
Right.
Would be under Horatio's.
Right,
house.
that's what I mean. The pages,
but
or maybe they're just exploring and shit happens.
What's guarding the pages?
How did they get down there?
Well, I think they get recruited to go down there by William, and he must have a key to unlocking the magic elevator without the ghost's help.
Okay.
I can't wait. We're going to see it soon. It's only a few days away now.
Woohoo!
But very exciting. And there's going to be some monsters. Definitely going to be some monsters down there.
Shoggoths?
I hope not. I hope it's something different. There's a huge number of Lovecraftian creatures to draw from. It would really be a shame if we got Shoggoths for the third monster in a row.
Well, we've got ghosts, too.
Well, yeah, but those aren't Lovecraftian monsters.
Maybe we'll see all the ghosts of the previous Order of the Phoenix crew.
Harry Potter.
All the Slytherins.
Very similar, especially the white slick back hair. It's like a whole crew of Malfoys. Must be something to that.
Malfoy gang.
We call ourselves the Malfoys, and we talk in bad British accents because we love him so much. We've dedicated our lives to living the Malfoy way. There we go. Yeah, so new episode coming.
Till next time.
I got nothing else to say about that, but just go to sleep. Think about the stars in the sky and dream of YUGGOTH. Say it with me, babe.
No.
Or wait, I think I said it wrong.
Shoggoth.
No, what? No, Shoggoths are the monsters. The planet is YUGGOTH.
YUGGOTH. Ugh.
Not to be confused with Shoggoth.
We don't even know if that's going to happen.
YUGGOTH. I think we're going to wind up on YUGGOTH before the end of this show.
All right. Well, we'll talk to y'all on YUGGOTH.
YUGGOTH.